You're like, this isn't a conflict resolution seminar, but I think values come into play. So when you and somebody else have a different set of values, then you see things differently, you care about things differently, and so now all of a sudden, you see why some of this takes place, okay? So that's what we're going to try to get at a little bit, and I will tell you that I think if any of this resonates with you tonight, that it will change the way you see everything. That's a pretty audacious claim for a 2-hour time period, but I think it'll change everything. All right, so let's go with a definition. That way you have one. The what of personal life values? The root beliefs that a person operates from. Okay, values are the root beliefs that a person operates from. And here's the problem is sometimes these roots are so far under the ground that unless you do the hard work of asking the why question over and over and over and over again, you'll not see why it's a root belief. Okay? Again, you'll just be like, well, I'm here tonight. April. Well, the only reason I'm here tonight, I mean, she didn't do it this way. No, let me just exaggerate. I'm exaggerating. The only reason I'm here tonight is because I have to be here. Not true. Now, she might need to be here, but it was other decisions prior to this that made her have to be here that were based off of her values. Make sense? We're going to keep going. So the root beliefs that a person operates from, sometimes these are conscious and sometimes they are unconscious. Sometimes you know that you are making those decisions based off of a value system, and sometimes you don't know you are, but everything that you do is based off a value system that you have. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how we can unearth those values, or if they're rooted beliefs, like dig the dirt out, take a look at the root, and just try to see what it is that's helping me make the decisions that I have. So that definition is too big for me. So I have one that's shorter, and to me it makes total sense. Because I need help remembering things. To me, when I think about values are the whys that drive. That's it. Values are the whys that drive. So what I mean by that is values are the answers the why question, and it drives what you think and how you act. The values of the organization that you work for should drive how they make decisions, how they recruit to the team. The values that you have as a family, whether they're conscious or unconscious, drive the activities that you do. Right? Seriously, let's just say your kid's on a travel sports team. Ask yourself the question why 7 times, and it'll be interesting to see what answer you come up with about why you're running around like crazy, spending thousands of dollars in a sport that they may not make any money for you later in life. Right? Anyway, I'm just telling you, it'll drive you crazy, but it'll help you. So I'm just saying, for me, when I think about values, values are the whys that drive. So if values are the whys that drive, these are some values of an organization that we all know. Anybody want to take a guess about what organization this is? They say they value people, they delight in customers, they do the right thing, and they have a passion for winning. And if you look at the back wall, I will be frustrated at you because the answer's on the back wall, so don't do that. But anyway, here we go. What organization might you go, oh my goodness, I see how they value people. I see how they love to delight their customers. They do the right thing, passion for winning. Anybody want to give a guess? Nope, because no one wants to be wrong. I get it, right? Wawa. That's what's interesting, right? So you may say to yourself, well, now, the next time you're in Wawa, got me? The next time you're in Wawa, maybe ask yourself, do I feel valued while I'm in here? And if Wawa is doing, these are the whys that they say about why they exist. Delight customers. I don't know what it is, but I get giddy when I get a cup of coffee from Wawa. Does it taste that much different than a cup of coffee from Sheetz? Probably not. But there's something about it. So, all right. Here's another one. Again, these are the whys that drive. So they're going to drive both an organization and an individual. So here's another one. Never a customer, always a guest. Make everyone's dreams come true and share the spotlight. Anybody want to guess what organization has these as a value? Who said that? My wife did? Come on, Disney. So isn't that interesting, right? And so you have that whole idea, never a customer, always a guest. And so if you've ever spent time at Disney, you see that. You're not called a customer, you're called a guest. And this idea of making everyone's dream come true, Tinkerbell comes flying down that rope, right? It makes it be sharing the spotlight. That's very interesting. So again, I'm not saying that you can see these things in everything that happens at Disney, but you're supposed to. Why? Because values are the whys that drive. It drives how they do what they do. Okay, how about this one? We don't settle for anything less than excellence. We own and control primary items that we need, and we value simplicity and complex? Oh, yes, we value simplicity and complex. Any idea? What? Well, now we'll see if it's true. Apple, right? So Apple says that some of these things, we don't settle for anything less than excellence. Now, this is not a you have to like Apple, okay? But what I'm saying is it drives what they do. We own and control primary items that we use. In fact, if you're an Android user, that's part of what you hate about Apple. How many in here are an Android user instead of an Apple user, right? Why do you like Android? Well, maybe because you hate the big machine of Apple, but you like Android because you can tinker with it and you can play with it, and there's all kind of open source things that you can add to your phone. And you can do things to your phone that I cannot do to mine. Why? Because Apple controls it, and they like simplicity. So that's why, honestly, if you look at two different phones, I would tell you that an Android phone is, honestly, by far a better phone than an Apple phone. But an Apple phone is simpler. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're not getting into Apple. But what I'm saying is, when you start to see their values, what do you see? It's the whys that drive what they do. All right, last one. This one's actually a church, and it's not ours. We believe big, and we start small. We are contributors, not consumers, and we can do more by doing less. April, I'm going to pick on you. If there was a church that you could go to that was not Gateway Church, what would it be? I'll answer for you. Elevation Church. So it's very fascinating, right? Elevation Church, if you know anything about Elevation Church, right? That's Stephen Furtick, that's North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere down there. You will see some of these kind of things. And so what I'm telling you is the way that they do what they do is driven by something, and it happens to be the values that they have. So I'm going to take it back to you again. I'm telling you, the things that you did today were driven by the values that you have, whether you realized it or not. And so that's why we're going to try to uncover them, because it's going to help us move forward. What would be some of the whys that you could see when you think about Christ and his life and how he lived his life? What might be some whys? Not W-I-S-E, but W-H-Y-S. Is that even a word? Can you pluralize why? I don't know, I did, right? So anyway, when you look at the life of Christ, what might you come back with as some of the whys for what he did? People are important. And then, okay, so you're doing it backwards. So let's go there. How did you decide? What were things that you saw in Christ's life that illustrated the why of people being important? Awesome. Always with people, always looking for what it was that their needs were. I think that's good. So let's do it again. What else? What other things did you see in Christ's life? And then we ask the why question and we come up with a value. Okay, he led by example. So therefore, what might we say could potentially be a why for that? Why did Christ lead by example? Any idea? Okay, I think that's part of it. Absolutely, right? There was a sense of being relatable in there. Why else would he have led by example? He was a teacher. So now there's a sense of don't just do what I say, do what I do. So why would that have been important to him? See how the why question is annoying? But it's clarifying. Yeah. right? So there's something that's driving him. And it's causing him to act in a certain way and to think in a certain way. Your values help drive the decisions that you make on why and how you spend your money. It's one of the reasons why, quite possibly, you have looked at other people. Okay, let me change it. I have looked at other people, seen how they spent their money, and I judged them. Oh, going on another vacation, huh? Wow, must be nice. Wow, didn't you, I'm being truthful, I'm sorry. Wow, didn't you get a new car like 6 months ago? Are those new shoes? I'm just saying, see what I'm saying? And I begin to go, because they don't have the same value as I do. Now, what you could say about me is, does your family ever eat at home, or do you just eat out all the time? Right? So then the question comes, why does my family eat out a lot? And you could begin to ask the why question, and I have an answer to it, but it goes back to where is the why? And so instead of me just judging you because of the way I see you spend your money, because it's different than the way I spend my money. But how do we make those decisions by wise? All right, so here's what I want you to do. At your table, just for a moment or so, and you may have to, and maybe somebody's going to give an answer, and then someone be the smart aleck at the table and go, well, that's a great answer. Why? Right? I mean, literally, be a smart aleck with each other, okay? Let's go back to the question about why you're here tonight. So can you go around the table and talk about potentially at least one foundational or root or however you want to say it, why you're here tonight? And then be ready for someone around the table to smirk and say why, okay? Can you do that? All right, go. The potential foundational whys about why you're here tonight. Anybody willing to share? Don't share somebody else's, and you maybe didn't even think, right? This is not, I'm going to share what Grace said. This is, did anybody get to a bit of a root belief, again, of why you chose to spend time coming here tonight? Mary, did you? Oh, people were pointing at you, so I just called on you. That's what's bad. Oh my goodness, that was the perfect exercise. Now that's interesting, right? Part of her why is actually a negative, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Thank you for doing that. But you see, it'd be easy to just stop at, well, I think leaders are cool. Okay, but that's not all the way that it is. So that's great. All right, so somebody else. Again, that's where we're getting at, and I'm not even saying that being the opposite of, being a great leader is going to necessarily be one of her foundational values. But why she came here tonight is one of them. Thank you, Mary. Did somebody ask you why too? Were they rude to you? Nobody was rude. You're at a table of nice ladies. All right, anybody else, real quick? Anybody else get to a potential foundational why? It's very good. Now here's what's interesting. We love each other, so I'm going to do this. It's possible that if she kept asking why questions, it may drive down to, I care what people think about me. I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying it would. But it's interesting. Sometimes we get and we ask a whole bunch of why questions, and we get to the part like, ooh, I don't know if I like where that landed. Okay? I'm not saying that's that way. So it's an interesting exercise to ask yourself. And again, maybe do that with your next purchase that's more than $20. Okay? $50. Whatever you pick. Why did I buy that? Well, because I needed a new pair of shoes. Well, why did you need a new pair of shoes? Well, because mine were ratty. Well, why did you think yours were ratty? Oh, because my coworker got a new pair and people complimented them, and then they smiled and it seemed like they had a good day. Holy crap, I wanted to have a good day, so I bought a pair of shoes. Weird. But you see what I mean? And it gets at those value pieces. So, all right, we're going to keep going. One thing I wanted you to write down, and we didn't get a chance to look at it right now, but Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. Sometime I would love for you to look at that and maybe even pull out what are some of the values that the Apostle Paul is saying should be a part of our life. All right? So you read that, and you take a look, and it'll be interesting to you. And then you can begin to ask yourself, do I have some of those values? He said I should. It's in the Bible. Therefore, what do I do with it? Now, I struggle with this because I think there's some really good ones. And later, I'm going to share my personal values with you, and none of them come from those verses. Right? So I'm like, maybe I'm off on certain things. But it's an exercise that you can do later on. Tony.
Awesome. All right. So Scott's actually double dipping with us tonight. He's heading off to hang out with the Disciples Journey Discovery Group, and then he'll be back with us. And so I appreciate his willingness to unpack some of the what. I would love to kind of venture into some of the why. And so this is kind of a really weird transition for the why, but I would love to quote Gandhi. Of all people, humor me, let me quote Gandhi. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And so this is a really heady, we could spend a really long time unpacking this concept of how the progression backwards or forwards for that matter, how Gandhi kind of landed to this idea. But I'm wondering, even without explaining it, can you see it? Now let's go backwards. Now obviously destiny is a little bit, we're not really vibing with destiny per se here, but if you just start with the word values, that your values come from how you are habitually acting, or how you in a pattern, in a rhythmic fashion, how you act throughout your day. That's kind of where your values come from. They come from then just your habits come from the way that you act on a daily basis. Your actions kind of can stem from your words and how you articulate yourself. Your words come from your mind, your cognitive headspace, and your thoughts come from your beliefs. You can see how that kind of progression comes from. So again, when Scott was saying, well, why? Well, why did you buy that pair of shoes? This is the, why do I do this? Or why are my values there? Well, why are my habits there? Why are my actions there? You can kind of go multi-layered here. In understanding why I do what I do. Because the fact of the matter is that I don't know the actual statistic out there, but it's something around like 60% of like our activities throughout the day are subconscious and by habits, by a pattern. There's so many things that are just automated throughout our day. The way that you shower, the way that you get up in the morning to eat breakfast, the way that you drive to work, you don't even think about it. It's autopilot. The way that you interact maybe with your kids, or the way that you or the way that you text to people. It's kind of automatic in general. And we are saying, okay, well, let's get to the why behind so many things that we end up doing. And let's put verbiage behind it that is appropriate, that is helpful, and that is intentional. And I say intentional because of this thought, is that intentionality is the avenue to fruitfulness. What do I mean by that? Intentionality is the avenue to fruitfulness. If I want to be a good baseball player, I played baseball for 15 years. If I wanted to pursue excellence in baseball, I have to be intentional with the way that I practice, even showing up to practice, the way that I'm going to work out in the gym, the way that I'm going to understand the plays and how to execute them well. And if I am intentional over here, you can see how then fruitfulness over here will appear of I'm able to hit the ball better. I'm able to think in my subconscious state, when I get the ball, I know what I'm going to do already. That when I am interacting, when I'm in the gym, I kind of know my routine because I'm there so often, and it becomes a fruitful life. Well, let me think about my marriage for a second with my wife, Mary Beth. Is that in the same way that if I am not going to interact with her, there's not really going to be a fruitful relationship, correct? Is that relationships are this two-way street, and we need to both be intentional, or there's not going to be much quality or depth to the relationship. And so in the same, and this principle of intentionality is the avenue to fruitfulness that can kind of go in any area of your life. And we're talking about that with our values, is that we want to be intentional with how we understand our minds, our passions, our intellects, our even discouragements and even shames that we wrestle with. Like, we want to lean into this, and why do we do the things we do? And when we articulate them, put it on paper, which we're going to be challenging you to do, not by the end of tonight, but over the period of weeks and months that we're going to let you loose with this, is that you're going to write down your articulation so that you can hopefully and prayerfully become more fruitful in your life. Not saying that you need to, in order to be a fruitful Christian, you need values written down. That's not what Scott and I are saying. But we are saying is that values can be a tool to help towards fruitfulness. Does that make sense? And so that is where we are going, because when we look at 1 Corinthians 15:49, it says this, just as we have borne the image of the earthly, we also bear the image of the heavenly. It's this kind of weird concept of we have like this dual citizenship and status where we're here on earth, and we're also, we have our identity in Jesus, and this is not our home. And we need to think through the lens, okay, what is the image of the heavenly? And I would like to submit this idea to us, is that we think about values, like usually when we're thinking about values, we're thinking about admirable traits or good things that we want to pursue. Well, what's the source of good? God. And so if we are pursuing values in a way where ultimately I think we're trying to pursue the heavenly, we're trying to pursue the character of Jesus. And so obviously we bear the image of the earthly. We're human beings, we're flesh and blood, and we have our personalities and we have our traits and all those really cool things that make up who we are or unique of who we are. And then we have the image of the heavenly, and we are called to the intentionality is the avenue to fruitfulness. We want to lean more deeply into the scriptures and to the character of Jesus, and this is how we want to start formulating our values. Because I don't know well, this isn't like deeply profound, but Christian literally just means little Christ. That's literally what it means. And so if we are called to be little Christ, Romans 13:14, I think puts it very well and clearly, where he says, rather, and prior to that, he was basically talking about not putting on things of the flesh and the things of sin and debauchery and pride. Rather, clothe yourself with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the flesh. And so literally, it's like we are clothing ourselves with the person of Jesus. What's really fascinating to me, if you were to do a case study in the book of Ephesians, and you look at Ephesians chapter 6, which we read as the armor of God, the spiritual warfare that we are facing in our world. Even if we can't see it, it is the war that we are raging against. And when we see the armor pieces that are painted in that scripture, all of those pieces directly correlate to the person of Jesus. The helmets of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, the breastplate of righteousness, all these different pieces directly correlate to who Jesus is. And so if we are putting on the armor pieces of God, what we're actually doing is we're putting on Christ. So what we're doing when we're thinking about values, because this obviously could be a non-Christian seminar. We could talk about values. It's a very business concept. And what we're trying to do is say, hey, we want to take values and we want to understand, everything good and everything like honorable and valuable that we want to pursue in life ultimately comes from God and the character of Jesus and the glory of God. And so we want to pursue that, and we want to know we're going to clothe ourselves with Christ. This is the why. Because we're going to unpack this in just a second, but ironically enough, when we are pursuing our values and we're trying to pursue, okay, what makes me me? What gets me passionate? What gets me excited? What gets me convicted? Actually, at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about God, and it's about others. The more that we grow in our self-awareness and the more that we grow in our understanding of our values and our passions and our excitements and our personalities and our convictions and our shames and our doubts and like all those things that make up who we are, the more that we grow in that understanding, it's actually not for me. It's not, it's for God. And it's for the other person across from me. So that's actually the irony of this whole thing. We're gathering tonight to talk about your values, but at the end of the day, it's actually not for you. It's for God, and it's for others. And so let's unpack a little bit of the vitality of values. The vitality of values. I think that there are some principles here that we need to understand. Why are they so important? Why are values so crucial? And so let's kind of hit some of those right now. So number one is values help you find your purpose. Values help you find your purpose. Again, this isn't like some like, oh, like my destiny of like I've arrived in life and I know what I'm going to be doing and everything is picture perfect clear. When I write down the last period on my values, everything just comes in some euphoric revealing. That's not what it is. But that'd be really cool. But that's not what it is. It's like it guides you as a tool to help you find, okay, why did God put me on this earth? Why do I exist? I know all of us in some form or fashion have kind of asked that question. Like, why am I here? Why do I exist? Obviously, it's yes to honor and glorify God and enjoy him forever, 100%. But we kind of crave something a little bit more tangible. What's my purpose? And so values can help find your purpose. Number two is that values challenge you to be proactive rather than reactive. What do I mean by that? Proactive rather than reactive. Has anyone had a moment where you said something that you regretted moments later? Anyone? Has anyone done that before? Great, awesome. My hand, two hands in the air for me. Literally happened just like over the weekend. And so, because I sometimes speak before I think. Thank you, God, for making me an external processor. And so, proactive rather than reactive, this is the idea, is that when we can craft out our values, we can write them down, we have them in pen and paper on our phones, on our iPhones, on our Androids, whatever it may be, is that we can see, hey, it's going to challenge me to think a little bit more before I step into situations that might be more challenging. Or before I go up to that coworker that sometimes annoys me a lot. Or that I'm going to go before I walk through the door to my home where my kids have, it's just been a long day and my kids are going to just, I love them, but I don't want to deal with them right now. How can I be proactive rather than reactive? Because when we can understand, hey, here's what I value in life, here are some of the crucial pieces that make up who I am, it then becomes something that, it's like a mantra. It starts becoming more placed upon your mind if you allow it, because again, it's intentionality. So if you just write down your values and then you throw them in a drawer and never think about them again, that's not going to help anything. So like if you're thinking about, if you write them down and then you like have them somewhere all the time, or you're constantly thinking about them, or something that Mary Beth did for me was she kind of helped craft some of my values kind of in an aesthetic on a canvas. And so maybe if there's a way that you can creatively put your values into something, we'll maybe talk about that a little bit more at the very end. But a way to put it in front of you so the more that you can be proactive in thinking about them rather than be reactive. Because again, if we're thinking about pursuing the things of God, the good things, rather than the gratifying the desires of the flesh, it's so easy to be reactive in our flesh and our pride. It's a lot harder to be proactive in the things that are godly and honoring. True? If that's the case, we need to be proactive rather than reactive, because if we solely are reactive, we're just going to be stuck in our own patterns of our sin and our selfishness and our pride. And so values can help push you and challenge you to be proactive rather than reactive. Number 3, values inform your decisions. Again, this is idea that if I'm thinking through what are the whys, why am I doing this? Why am I buying that pair of shoes? Why am I going on the vacation? Why am I taking that class? Why am I buying that thing? Why am I watching that thing? Why am I saying that? Why am I texting that? Why? The more that you can ask why and you can come back to your values, it can help inform healthier, self-aware decisions. And that's what we're going for. Number 4, values help clear out clutter. So, clutter is a funny thing because if I don't know if anyone who you would I don't know if you say it to their face or not, but like call them like a hoarder. Like they kind of like hold a lot to themselves. I don't know if you know anyone like that or not. But like what does a hoarder do? They hold on to everything thinking it's the most important thing ever. And there's no way I can let go of this because it has so much sentimental value, or I'm going to use it one day, or I don't know. I'm gonna sell it 10 years from now when it's more whatever. I don't know. But like they hold on to stuff and everything seems so vitally important. So what we want to do when we think about values, that we actually, when you, in your very back couple of pages, there is like a couple hundred words there. And that's going to be a guide to help you kind of trim down what your words are. Because you could say, here are my values. Here's 100 words that I value. Okay, cool. But like we want to trim that down to like 5 to 7 words that kind of help mark and tatter your life. And so what we want to do is help clear out the clutter and make more a refined look at, okay, why am I doing these things? For me, within Gateway Student Ministries, being the youth pastor here, we have a mission statement, and that mission statement within GSM is a refinement of everything that we do in GSM is refined to that mission statement. The games, the fun, the sermon series, the service experiences, the way that we program the night, everything comes back to the mission statement. And so what I say, kind of simplistically put, if I can't have it make sense in the mission statement, we ain't doing it. I'm clearing out the clutter. There's a lot of good things that could happen, but what's the best things that are present? So we're going to clear out clutter. Here's another thought for you. In the name of, I'm going to clear out some of the good things. The enemy of the great is not the bad. The enemy of the great is the good. There are so many good things in life that we could pursue. But if we always keep pursuing good, we won't have the space and the margin to look for the greats in our life. That's a whole other topic. All right, here we go. Number 5. Values persuade you to think about others over yourself. So here we go. Like I said, the irony of this whole concept of values, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with others. It helps you put yourself, again, Jesus, Philippians 2, he said, look at what Philippians 2 kind of speaks towards the life of Jesus and what Paul incites the Philippian church to pursue. It's not about you, actually. The things that you need to value actually drive you towards other people. That's the irony of this whole thing called Christianity. It's not about us. It's about others, and it's about God. And we're doing it right. We're loving God and we're loving others. Yes, there's a component of this self-awareness and self-care and even the last seminar that we did was all about soul care and margin and how can we be healthy leaders, and that's vitally crucial, but we're still called to serve God and serve others first. And if you're curious about that, we did a whole, again, this 2-hour seminar we did on soul care. It's on our YouTube page. I'll give a link for that later that you can go back and check that out. Where your fill in the blanks notes are is in the description as well. So anytime you can go back to previous seminars we've done. This is the third one, and you're welcome to go back and check out some of the other ones. And so values persuade you to think of others before yourself. Number 6, values push you to develop your self-awareness. Again, this idea that I am trying to understand the why of who I am, the why of what makes me tick, what gets me out of bed in the morning, what fills my tank, what drains my tank, what is important to me. It builds my understanding of my self-awareness. Number 7, this was a fun one. Values confront your sin. Values confront your sin. And what I don't like about this one, again, is that it's not just that values kind of actually point you in the direction of God and others. It also, if it's done right, it kind of confronts the fact that I got some ugly mess inside. And it kind of confronts the fact that I'm selfish and it's so, like I said earlier, it's quick to be reactive in my flesh rather than proactive in the character of Jesus. And so it's going to confront who I am as a selfish, sinful person. And we have to be okay with that. Not let us be chained to it, not let us be capitulating to despair over it, but no, just acknowledge, yeah, I got some crap I got to deal with. And values might do that as you unpack this exercise, so I just need you to know that. Number 8, values promote a humble confidence. Values promote a humble confidence. And you'll see this kind of revealed in my own values, just like Scott, I'll reveal my values as well. And again, the hope is just to kind of get the juices going, where we'll show ours, and then you'll get some time even to practice at the very end here. And so, but promotes a humble confidence, this idea that I know more clearly who I am, and that should put a little pep in your step, a little more confidence, kind of raising your shoulders up a little bit more when you know this is why I'm driving myself forward. It's the why that drives my life, and it should put a little confidence in your life. At the same time, again, if it's confronting your sin and it's about others and about God, it should cause you humility over us simultaneously. So it's this humble confidence, this confidence, humility at the same time. Number 9, lastly, is values expand your kingdom impact. Values expand your kingdom impact. What do I mean by that? It sounds a little funky. It's this idea that the more that you grow in your self-awareness, the more that you grow in your why, the more that you understand your values, the more that another session or thing that we're going to do sometime down the road is actually building like a personal life purpose statement or a mission statement even for yourself. That's going to be another thing that we're going to unpack in the future. And so the more that we understand like our personal mission that God's wired us for, our values, our self-awareness, whole 9 yards, the more that we are able to be readily available to God in the fullness of how he's created us. Not trying to be someone that we're not trying to copy and compete and compare with people around us, because we are all guilty of that, right? We're so guilty of saying, God, I think you messed up with me. I wish I was more talented like that person. I wish I was whatever, right? I wish, rather than looking at the why of who I am and being and pushing. I know contentment is hard. I get that. But pushing to be content in who God's called me to be, and that unlocks deeper abilities to be all in for Jesus. Because we're not wrapped up in comparison, and we're not wrapped up in competing, and we're not wrapped up in copying other people. We're wrapped up in, God, I want to take everything I am, and I just want to give it back to you, and praise be to you for making me the way I am, and here are my whys, now just here I go, right? That sounds pretty incredible, right? Easier said than done, but I think it's manageable. So here's what I want to do. I want to unpack this for a second. So which of the 9 for you kind of struck a chord? Which one of the 9 for you challenges you the most? And you know what? Here's the thing, guys. I feel like we should have said this from the drop, but and you disagree with, meaning we Google search some stuff and we kind of went off of some people. A lot of this is our own built content, and so we are flawed and we don't have all the right knowledge in the world. So you're welcome to disagree with one of those 9 vitalities. And I would love I'd love to dialogue with you or process that with you, or you can share that with your table, whatever. But so please know that there's freedom to disagree. So please know that. All right, let's talk. Which of the vitalities are you challenged with? Kind of strikes that chord, and you disagree with? Talk for a few minutes and go. Another 20 seconds and bring it back in. All right, here we go. We are launching back in. I hope that was profitable. I hope that was helpful. Again, just starting to decompress some of the stuff we're already going through. The reason why we want these table talk discussions is because, again, we're kind of throwing a fire hose right now. And so we're wanting to, as we go along, decompress a little bit here. So thanks for engaging with that. Also, I'm wondering, did anyone in the room ask to your table? I'm wondering why Tony didn't have 10 vitalities. Was there anyone who wondered that by any chance? Awesome. Thank you, Kinley. I appreciate that. But yeah. Okay, great. I'm really glad that, because literally, can I be a jerk? I actually, I was building these and I was getting closer to 10, and I actually intentionally stopped because I wanted to slightly annoy someone in the room for only having 9. So Sorry, Kinley, you're loved. Yeah, that's my weird brain. So, all right. So hey, let's keep going. So, a couple of other thoughts here. Oh, hey. Because I like to stir the pot. It's because I feel like many people are, we get way too comfortable, and sometimes we need to get struck into our uncomfortable spaces to grow more or to think more or expand our mind in the way that and it's just so many of us, and I'm included, that it's just so easy to get into a rhythm and have comfortability, and I think that generally speaking, that when we're always comfortable, we're not growing. So it's love. Somewhere in my maniac brain, somewhere there's love in there. Yes, thank you for that. All right, moving forward. Thank you for those whys. Put that into practice. Here we go. Dr. Martin Luther King said this: "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in the time of challenge and controversy." And so again, when you understand your why, you are able to be more rooted and firm and unmovable. Think about this as like a basketball player. If there's this thing called athletic stance, and I'm not a basketball player, but there's this thing called athletic stance, right, where your legs are somewhat apart, your knees are not bent, and you are ready to go. You're on the balls of your feet and you're ready to go, right? If my legs are out like this and my knees are locked and I'm looking this direction, obviously it doesn't take much for me to get pushed over. And so when I am ready to go, which our values are, when I'm ready to go and I understand my why, I can stand in time of challenge and controversy. And we're thinking about this again in the lens of our biblical, our Christian framework. And Jeremiah 29:13 says this: "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with your whole heart." And so what does it look like for us that we're going to seek God through our values, through our why, and we're going to seek him, and we're going to find when we seek God with the intentionality of our headspace, of our intellect, of our passions, of our personality, everything that makes up who we are, but including our values. So I would love to share. Hold on. Actually, before I share this, we're not gonna do this right now. But I'd invite you to go do this. Just like Scott gave you some homework about Philippians 2, I'm gonna give you some homework specifically on Lydia of Thyatira. I would love for you in your maybe in your next quiet time, or when you have a space just to sit and think about this stuff, to process when you go into Acts 16. What does it seem like are Lydia's values? Lydia is a really neat woman in the book of Acts that really kind of helped launch some of the basically the gospel in Europe. And so she helped, was the catalyst when Paul when he met Lydia. And so if you look at Lydia, what are some of her values? Maybe that's something for you to kind of go do on your time. All right, so last thing I'm going to say, and Scott's going to come back up in just a minute. I want to give an example of negative values. Because you're saying, okay, cool, like this is kind of making sense. I need some practical. Scott gave you some examples on the screen of Apple and Elevation Worship Church or whatever. Let me give you a negative example. Well, it's positive, but it bends to negative. So what would be a seminar without talking about Chick-fil-A for me? By the way, also, I really need to commend the individual who I wasn't supposed to know, but I do know, that he put these up on the stage and said, just like a student would give a teacher an apple, I get Chick-fil-A sauce. And that literally made my day. So Matt, thank you. You're getting A+ in this seminar. So, but just like Chick-fil-A has some really good values. Okay, so here we go. This is corporate's values that get pushed to every single Chick-fil-A across the country. So here are some of them. We are here to serve. We keep the needs of the operators, which is the owner, their team members and customers at the heart of our work. Number 2, we are better together. It's through teamwork and collaboration that we do our best work. Number 3 is we pursue what's next. We find energy in adapting and reinventing how we do things. And so again, there's more, but these are some of the ones I just want to zero in on for a second. Great values, stellar. But if you have stellar values on paper, but you're not living up to them, throw them away. It doesn't matter. Like, just stop it. And so let me give you an example. So I had the privilege of working at ChickfilA in Maryland for 5 years, and it was a phenomenal experience. This and way more was lived out in the values of this ChickfilA. Then I transferred up to here for Lancaster Bible College, did my studies, and then for a very short period of time, I worked at a ChickfilA over on the Lancaster on the Lancaster side. And I put your mic over there. And so. Sorry. So I worked there for a short period of time. And here's what was very difficult for me, was that I was seeing there was a little bit of a disconnect of the values and how it's practically playing out. And so when I saw that we keep the needs of the operators, the team members, and customers at the heart of our work, here's what I was noticing, was the team members were not actually being weren't kept at the heart of the work, and they weren't keeping the needs of the team members at the top. Because this was a culture piece that I was like, I didn't know how to deal with this, was that when someone's shift was over at 1 p.m., it was an expectation that you would stay till 1:30, 1:45. And I was like, that's not valuing the team member. If their schedule is shifted over at 1, they should be able to leave around 1. And so that was a culture piece that was just in there, and I wasn't liking that. It's through teamwork and collaboration that we do our best work. It was fascinating to me that when ideas were put out to management, many times they were shut down. And that was from a team member to a team leader, putting up to the managers. It was like they liked their ideas, and if it's not our idea, we're not doing it. And that was like, I don't like that. We pursue what's next. We find energy in adapting and reinventing. Again, they weren't really, there was some moments where someone was throwing out an idea of like, hey, like, what if we did this? And it was just a subtle shift. And they're like, no, but like, this is the way we've done things. And this is just the way we do things, so this is the way we do it. And like, I don't know, like this isn't what the corporate values of Chick-fil-A are like. And so for me personally, coming from a very healthy Chick-fil-A culture down in Maryland for 5 years and then coming up to this one, and I saw just a stark difference in contrasting, it was a short-lived time for me there because I knew both management and me knew it was just not gonna go well because I was stirring the pot accidentally, but I was stirring the pot, and it just wasn't gonna go well. So again, if your values can look beautiful on paper, but if you're not living them out, you might as well just throw them away. So there's a negative example. Scott wants to give a positive example.
Which is why I said this before, that there are actual values and there are aspirational values. You know what I mean by aspirational? This is what we lived up to. This is what we wish that we were. So I'll give you, for example, Gateway Church, actually, we don't have values. We need to. We haven't gotten there yet. Now we have a code, and you could say, well, the code serves as a set of values for us, and you would be kind of right. But honestly, I think we're still in the discovery mode. So instead of us having aspirational values, we want to be a certain type of church, organism, not organization. We're waiting until they sort of rise to the top. So later on, when you work on your own personal values, feel free to allow them to be aspirational if you want, meaning this is what I really would love my life to look like. But maybe you come up with what they actually are now and the aspirational ones in the future. So I'll give you one that has helped me because I have a son that lives in Indiana, and now that he lives in Indiana, my wife and I will maybe make some trips to Indiana. My wife will take the toll road when we go to Indiana because it's faster. I will not take the toll road because it costs me money. Isn't that fascinating? Values are at play. Now, who wins? She does. But I mean, values are at play. I would rather, this is weird. This is what I'm saying. You're going to leave me like, that's the weirdest thing ever. I would rather be in the car 45 minutes longer, and it's already a 10-hour drive. I would rather it be 10 hours and 45 minutes and save the $72. She, on the other hand, is like, $72 and I can be there with my son for 45 minutes longer? You see that? So it just depends on how you want to be. Here's another one that I had a situation one time in a working environment where I had an older guy. I'm not even going to say how old he was because I might offend people. But anyway, he was older, and he was talking about the millennial generation and how he's frustrated at the millennial generation because the first question they ever want to ask is, how many weeks do I get off? Like all the millennials care about is time off. So anyway, started talking. Come to find out, he valued really, really hard work, and this may have been your grandpa. Your grandpa wasn't at every single family function because he was at work so much. Do you know why he was at work so much, generally speaking? Because he loved his family and wanted to provide for them. Why does the millennial ask how much time I get off? Because they love their family and they want to spend time with them. So that's that weird part about values. You see how both of those generations had the same value, again, I'm generally speaking, of I care about my family. How they went about getting after that value was completely different. And so that's why it's helpful sometimes we got to ask these why questions, but then also try to figure out where it all comes into play. I'm not sure I think I was supposed to talk about a good example. I'm not sure I did. Did I? Okay, all right, good. I just don't want to get yelled at later. I'm just kidding.
Scott, I am graced by your presence.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just excited you're here.
I'm
So, no, bro, thank you for those. And so here's what we want to do. It is 8:09. We want to take a 5-minute stretch break, coffee, dessert break, pee break, whatever it may be, break for you. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the how. So we're going to make this more practical, and then we're going to give you some space at the very end to start thinking about it for a few minutes. And so 5 minutes, we'll be back here. Go get stuff.
Yeah, you did.
All right, we're bringing it back in about 1 minute. All right, we're bringing it back. Yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun. All right, hope you're stocked up on some coffee or desserts. There's plenty. Please keep going at it. If someone ends up finishing the coffee pot, there's one directly behind it, so please know that you didn't break the coffee urn or that you are not getting your coffee fixed. We can still feed your addiction, don't worry. We would love now to dive into the how. So the how of personal life values. We've covered the what's, we've covered the why, and though there's a lot more, this is not meant to be exhaustive, the what's and the why. There's so much more we can cover, but again, we want to kind of give like a truncated version of what's the what's the why, and now similarly we want to do what is the how. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to, I don't know if you've been feeling like this is a fire hose of information. I know that for some people, like, no, this is great. I'm feeling great. Some of you are like, yeah, no, it actually is kind of a lot. And I can't wait to leave, not because it's bad, because I need to process on my own later on, or wherever you may be feeling. What we're about to do next now is the next several blanks that we have there. The 8 next blanks are the hows, where it's basically a step-by-step process of how you can develop your values. And so what we're going to do is we're going to very briefly hit each one, and then after that we're going to give you some space right here to essentially practice step 1 and maybe step 2, but probably most likely it's just going to be step 1. So we can give you, again, some space just to be able to do that before we conclude our time here. And so you guys ready? Ready to dive into our how? Let's do it. So numero uno is create your list of personal values. Create your list of personal values. I realize that the green is the list, not the personal, my bad. So you're going to create your list of personal values. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to, not now, but in a few minutes, you're going to turn to the back page, the back 2 pages, and you will see a vast list of words that you're just going to start thinking through. What does your life aspirationally desire to be, or what is it already marked by right now? And you're basically going to highlight, circle, star, blot outs, whatever it is, like you're going to start circling those and you're going to highlight them. The goal, also, these words, this is not an exhaustive list, meaning if there's a word that you're feeling that is not on here, write it down. Or go to Google search character traits, or go Google search other values. This is a long list, but not the exhaustive list. And so you're going to do that, and here's the thing: you're going to kind of highlight and you're going to circle up to like 25. So that's the goal, is that we're going to start big, and then we're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. But we don't want you in your first look at this list that you're going to come up with your 5 values right here and right now. That's not the goal. You're going to overwhelm yourself, and it's not going to work out that well. So you're going to start with about 25 or so. Can you go less? Can you go more? Absolutely. But 25 is actually what you're going to kind of go for. What are words that, generally speaking, mark your life currently, or that you're aspiring to be down the road if you put more work into it? So that is step 1.
Awesome. And then he's right? Your word may not be on there. I was looking for the word beauty. Like beauty was almost one of my values. Like when I see something that's beautiful, or I don't know, it's the reason why photography is very important to me, because when it's done right, I'm like, oh, that's just beautiful. It's why when I'm driving and all of a sudden you turn around a corner and there's a mountain there and the sunset is there, it's like, so those kind of things like take my breath away. So maybe beauty is one of my values, and I was trying to see if the word beauty was there, and I don't think it is. So that's why that's not an extensive list. All right, number 2, you're then going to chunk. That sounds really weird. Is that what it says, chunk? Yeah, it does. Chunk your values in related groups. Here's what that means. Let's say you started doing your values and you wrote down the word trustworthy, honesty, and integrity. Yes, there are differences between those 3 words, but they're very, very similar. So as you are writing and circling and starring, you're just seeing words, and it's going to happen to you. You're going to look at that list, and it's weird to you. You're going to read a word, you're like, nope, nope, no, and then all of a sudden, one of these words is going to come off at the page at you. It's going to feel like it's got stars on it. That's a value of yours. Like something inside of you was drawn to that. So once you now have all those, you're going to group them into categories that seem to be related, like the example I gave you with integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness, I think is what I said. Does that make sense about what I mean by chunking them together? Okay.
And if this, we also don't want you to get caught up on this one. This one could feel a little bit, this could be a frustrating step of like, I don't know what to do. I'm getting a little stressed out. Don't get stressed. Like, if they seem like they fit, put them in the category or put them in a group. And if you're not feeling it, leave all 25 there. It's okay. So, but it's just to help start, again, 30,000 foot, down to 25, down to 20, down to 15. So this is like 25,000 foot attempting is those related groups. Number 3 is once you have your 25-ish words and they're relatively chunked into related groups, then we want you to consult a trusted person or persons. Why? Because have you ever had a moment where someone said to you, where you said to someone, I didn't think I'm that good in this, and then they looked at you and they're like, what? You're really good at that. I don't know if you've ever had that affirmation kind of a moment, or you did that to someone else where they kind of put themselves down over something, and you're like, what are you talking about? You're incredible at that. I'm kind of jealous of how you are in that, right? And so here's a phrase to write down. Affirmation confirms identity. Affirmation confirms identity. When we are willing to affirm the other person, as Jesus followers, when we're called to encourage one another daily, we're confirming the identity of who they are in Jesus. And so here's a thought, is that we want you to go and find a trusted person. This could be a spouse, this could be a best friend, this could be a pastor, this could be your whomever, it could be your dog, whatever, a trusted person in your life. Don't talk to your dog, that's weird. But if you talk to your dog, I love you, but I think you're weird. Sorry, back on track. Consult a trusted person that you can say, hey, here are my 25-ish words. What do you think? Is there a word is there a word on here that you're like, yeah, that's you? Like 7 words, these are completely you. Or they look at this list and they know your life really well and like, hey, like, I see your life tattered with this. Why isn't that there? Why isn't that on your list? And so taking your list to someone to get eyes on it before you really start trimming it down to your 5 to 7 is really a crucial step for someone to maybe confirm a maybe identity piece in you. And then just again, usually having trusting eyes can be a really helpful and healthy process, just generally speaking. And so that is your step 3. So you can choose one person, you can choose 2, you can choose 5, but let them see those 25 words and maybe allow them to have some insight of, hey, what do they think is what marks your life?
And this step number 3, you may circle back to it again at the end of the process.
Yes.
Right? You may
100%.
you may consult with them and go, help me figure this out. And then a couple weeks later, when you think you've got your 5, you may circle back to them and go, all right, remember when I met with you before? Remember I bought you a cup of coffee? Can I buy you a coffee again? Here's where I landed. Do you think I got it? Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Number 4 is the highlight the central theme of each value group. So remember how I said trustworthy, I can't even remember the words I used, trustworthy, integrity, honesty, and you grouped them together. Now what you may do in those groupings is you may come up with a heading for that group, and that heading may be one of the words. You may go honesty, trustworthy, integrity, and you may go, honestly, integrity says it best. That would be fine. So then you would, in a sense, write integrity and then maybe keep those words underneath it, but you're trying to see if there was a central theme to the grouping that you made. It's all the refining process here. Okay?
Yeah, and I think that also for that, it's almost like, again, we're trying to find not the good word, but the best word, right? We talked about that earlier. So we're not trying to find the good, we're trying to find the best. So between integrity and honesty and trustworthiness, I think of the words you said, like what's the one word that absorbs the other? That's a word that you can kind of think through when you think of highlight the central theme. Is there a word that absorbs the other words? Because again, we're trying to basically kind of umbrella all these 25 words into a word that means the greatest depth of these other words. So number 5 is, oh yeah.
They did group them already. It's a little weird.
So that means that you got some help there. Yeah, you're what?
Unless you don't like the categories, yes.
And if you're like, those categories stink, then you make your own.
Yeah. But if you're stuck on that part, you're like, I still don't understand. They just keep talking about chunking and I don't get it. Yes, they have been chunked already in that book.
Great thing to draw to our attention. So number 5, determine your top personal values. So here we go. Now you've built your 25. You have kind of thought about related groups. You've consulted other people. You have maybe tried to umbrella certain words to kind of highlight the one that makes the most sense of these words. And now you're going to pick. You're going to start, maybe now you can start like cutting out words. So like, okay, like this one fits under this one, and this one, like 4 people said that this one is mean. I can see it now that I've talked with a couple other people, and yada, yada. And you're going to try to pick what we said. I was saying 5 to 7 earlier.
That's what I say too.
Okay, so 5 to 7 is now kind of your goal at the end of this. 5 to 7 words that make up your personal values. And it takes a little bit more time, right? It takes more time to sift through those and start cutting them out and start thinking through them and maybe going dictionary searching. Okay, what does that word actually mean? Where do I see it in Scripture? You can do that kind of stuff. And so, but coming up with those is the goal of step 5.
And then 5 to 7, here's this. If you have less than 5, then the traditional wisdom says you probably haven't thought long enough. Okay? And if you have more than 7, you haven't done enough of the work to refine them. And then there's also a mnemonic way. Most of us can't remember more than 7 things. And if these really are your core values, you should be able to spit them out at a moment's notice. And if you have 12 of them, unless you've got just a great memory, which is possible, so that's the reason why that is. The other thing I'm going to say, even about this next one, is these are the rules. I believe the only people who are allowed to break rules are the people who know the rules. So what I mean by that is, you may go, even as we go down through these, and you're like, I don't like that rule. That's fine, as long as you know why you're breaking the rule. And this is why I'm saying that on this one. This next one that we want to talk about was rank your values in a prioritized order. That is a rule I break. You may not want to break it. I personally break it. I don't understand prioritizing core. To me, it's a fundamental, if it's core, it's core. They're all equal. So, but it is a way to do it. I'm not making fun of this. This is a legit way to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important that you know that. But again, you're allowed to break the rules a little bit. Maybe I just want to justify myself. But part of what this is, if you did need to prioritize them, which ones would you put up at the top? Like, this one is the most important. Now, my question would be is if you've got a value and it's down here at the bottom, is it really a value of yours? I don't know. But it's a rule that you can break once you know the rules.
Yep, totally, and I would agree with that. Where for me, I think that mine are slightly prioritized, but but it also depends on the season to some degree as well.
Sure.
It depends on my moment of leadership. It depends on my where. Yeah, so I think when again you'll see mine and you'll see Scott's in a few minutes on the screen. I think mine is slightly prioritized, but I wouldn't hold that too.
With prioritizing, if you have something from the decision you have to make, and it goes against one value, but it goes against for another value, prioritizing which value is more important.
Sure, I've never thought of it that way.
And we'll get there because that's one of the steps,
Yeah.
the ecology part. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll
No,
get there.
that's I like that. That's
Because I think at the root value, they can't be contradictory.
in theory, yeah.
I don't think you can hold as a core value two things that are contradictory to one another. But I could be wrong. I know, I could be wrong. Okay,
I'm gonna think on that too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
But you might be. And so then, if so, then that one would trump that one in a given situation.
Cool. All right, last two. Number 7 is you're going to give your. Does it say give your or does it say give you on yours?
It says you.
Beautiful. Well, on theirs, does it say yours? Fantastic. I didn't change it on our doc. Give your life values richer context. What do I mean by that? So richer context is this, is that now that you've established your 5 to 7, the invitation is to put definition behind it. So whether it is you go onto Merriam-Webster dictionary and you just take your word and the definition and you copy and paste it into your Word doc or write it down or whatever, do that. If you want to create your own definition, do that. If there are tons of definitions for so many words, take 6 of them and wordsmith 3 of the words from each definition together and put it into the thing that makes the most sense to your life. Even though we're not going to show our definitions, when you look at my document that has my values, I crafted, I think I made up 5 of them, and I took actually 2 of them I have 6. So I crafted 5 of my own. And then the 6th one was like a Merriam-Webster definition or whatever. So put a definition behind it that makes the most sense to you. Secondly, is to go find it in Scripture. Is to put a biblical reference behind it. Because remember earlier, we mentioned that values, if values are good and everything good comes from God and we're called to embody the character of Christ, is that in theory, something that you wrote down as a value, you're going to find it hopefully, inevitably in Scripture, whether it's through the person of Jesus, whether it's through the command from some of the Pauline epistles, whether it's something, wherever it is, you might find it in Scripture. So go and this again, a Google search. My word is courage. So I'm going to go type in where in the Bible do we see courage, and that's okay to Google search things in Scripture. Don't feel like you need to go find it on your own. The amount of times I Google search stuff is probably ungodly. And so go in and find richer context, a definition that makes sense, and a scripture or 2 or 3, whatever you want that kind of helps provide deeper clarity to you around the why you chose that word. Lastly.
And again, you don't have to do it this way. Traditionally speaking, I would say values are probably a word, then a colon, and then that richer context.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That makes sense? So those words after the colon are kind of describing that first word. Again, you don't have to do it that way, but traditionally that's how it's done. All right, number 8, right? Test the ecology of each value. Now, this ecology is kind of weird, right? Ecology is the study of the relation of things to one another. So that's where you're taking a look at the ecology of each of those values and how they relate to the other one, which Merlino kind of gets at what you were talking about. And I said that so dogmatically before. I wanted to retract a little bit when I'm like, well, they can't be values if they contradict one another. I don't know. I still sort of feel that, but I'm not sure why I'm backtracking a little bit. But it would be interesting to see how those values relate to one another. Okay? without giving full context, I will tell you this idea of the ecology of these things happened during the pandemic when people were frustrated at their church for certain things. I'm trying to think of an example. Well, I know the one example. I can't think of the other. The one example was, the Bible says don't give up meeting together, right? And then I had so many conversations with people. It was like, well, don't give up meeting together. And then the other one was like, serve one another in love. Well, those two during the pandemic seemed to fight with one another, right? Depending on your perspective, I shouldn't bring up the pandemic, but depending on your perspective, right? Some people said, well, we shouldn't meet together because we love one another and therefore we don't want to spread the virus. But the Bible also says, don't give up meeting together. And that was an example where people said our values as a church were colliding with one another. I didn't see it that way, but I understood where they were coming from. So that gets at this, test the ecology of the values and how they work together and how they relate to one another. And it might cause you to start the process all back over again and go, no, I want to change that value, or I need to readjust how they all fit together.
Awesome. So there you have it. There are your 8 steps to build your personal life values. There is no timeline to this, my goodness. But if you were intentionally working at this, and intentionally could mean 5 minutes a day, an hour a day, 3 hours in the totality of 7 days, I don't. But like, if you are intentionally working at this, I mean, give it like a month and a half. I don't even know. This isn't meant to be a rushed process.
No.
In the slightest. And so be willing to be patient with it. And be willing to kind of work with it. And even the thing is this, that even if like you're sitting with your values, you're down to your 5 to 7, like keep your original like 25 or whatever, and then have your 5 to 7, and then walk away for a day or two. And come back to it, and you're like, okay, like I still feel great about these 5 to 7. Or you know what, now that I've had some time to think about it, and actually this life circumstance happened to me in the past 48 hours, now something else just percolated to the surface of a value of mine, and because of the circumstance, and maybe you need to sift through it, so don't rush this process. And so what we'd love to be able to do is now share with you, again, to help stir the mental space of values. You see the papers. I was able to sit on this in my college days and be able to kind of craft out my values. And so would love to share with you, here are my 6 values for me. Again, I'm not gonna define them. I would love to. If you're interested about why I chose a particular word, please come talk to me. I'd love to share why. But here are the 6 that personally I feel deeply convicted to live out. So living in excellence, living in brokenness, living in encouragement, living in vulnerability, in generosity, and self-care. So those are my 6 that I personally have put definitions behind, that I put scripture behind, that I walk in a humble confidence, in a confident humility that this is my why. This is why I do the things I do on a practical level. Living in excellence, in brokenness, in encouragement, in vulnerability, and in generosity and self-care. And so those are mine. And if you're curious, I'd love to talk to you about them.
All right, I want you to tell me what mine are. Right? I mean, some of you I would know on a personal level. Some of you, we think we know each other more because you get to listen to me yak for 35 minutes on a weekend. But let's go. Again, you're not going to be wrong. And in fact, this is a really good process too. When you're crafting yours, spend time asking people who know you, if you were to pick my values, what would they be? And you might not like their answer. But anybody have honesty? Good, I wish. No, it's good, that's good, right? And then if this were a process where we were having coffee, I'd go, man, thank you for saying that. How have you seen that play out, right? That would be good. Renee? Excellence, very good. Yes, I'm afraid that's a value of mine, but I don't want it to be. Now, here's the other thing too. You have to be careful about this because I'm going to show you mine in a second. And I have one that, if I talk about it, I'm going to tell you it's antithetical to Tony's, which is excellence. So mine is different than his. That's not my way of saying his value is wrong. You understand that? Because again, I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong in these values right there because they're personally held things. But I am afraid that my actual value, well, I'll tell you what my aspirational value is: greatness. But I'm afraid my actual value is excellence. Now, to me, the difference between excellence and greatness is if you make a mistake, it's no longer excellent. David was not excellent. He slept with somebody, then had someone killed. I mean, that's not excellent. But he was great because even through the failure, which can't be, you can't have failure and excellence to me in the same sentence. Anyway, but I'm afraid I live, when people experience me, it's excellence because I point the finger when things aren't excellent. Sorry, that was more than you wanted to say. Anybody else? Yeah. Unity. Yeah. I have one. It's a different word. So can you hit my button? So, hit my button. That was awkward. So, here are mine. Okay? Here are mine. And so, oughtness. It's a weird word. I don't even know if it exists. But here's what oughtness means to me. There is a correct way to do something. So, I'm always asking myself, what ought I do? What ought I do? So I live in a sense of oughtness. The problem is I sometimes put you in a box of oughtness too. So when you don't do something the way that I think ought is, I can have a tendency to judge you. It's horrible. But it is such a value to me. I'm always like, well, what is the right way to do it? How ought somebody do that? How ought a person who wants to follow Jesus with? Collaboration is my unity one, right? So it's funny, Johnny, when he's being really honest with me, one of his frustrations about my leadership is that he would say, I am a consensus leader, which means I don't want to move unless everybody around the table agrees. He might be right. I think that my personal value is collaboration, so I want to hear what everybody says, but it's interesting. In my life, I think it's collaboration. How people experience me is consensus. Okay? Greatness, I already told you that my simple difference between excellence and greatness. Stewardship, like generosity was one of mine. So I will tell you why I'm here tonight. Remember I asked you why you were here tonight? I'm here tonight because stewardship is one of my values. And I couldn't think of a better place to be tonight than spending time with you talking about values because I think they're that important. So, why was I here tonight? Because stewardship is a value, and I have only so many hours in a day, and how am I going to spend them? Oh, yeah, I think values are important, and so I'm going to steward my time that way. Number 5, experiences. This gets me in trouble too, and my wife will attest to this. She'll be like, well, why did you go and do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted to see what it was like. Why did you agree to go be on that board at a local organization? I don't know. There's something I'm going to learn. I don't know why I need it. And Johnny's like laughing now too because we were just talking about something coming up and he goes, well, what are you going to stop doing in order to do that? And I about went like that because I'm like, I don't know because I'm just so my experiences isn't really a junkie experience. Like I don't want to jump out of planes. I don't want to.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I definitely do.
My experiences are a little bit different than that, but I crave them. I value them. I'm always like, I don't know when I might need that, but I want to say that I was a part of it. So that's why my values get me in trouble sometimes, but those are, at least I think, that's the way I process life is through those things.
Yep. You explain.
Can I give you an oughtness really fast? I am in 5th grade. I show up to church a little bit late. My fellow students in 5th grade Sunday school, that's when I went to, are feverishly trying to erase something on the chalkboard. That was back when they had green chalkboards. Anybody old enough to remember green chalkboards? But anyway, they're feverish because somebody had taken a black magic marker and wrote, I remember what it was, Mrs. Figley, which is what the teacher's name is a, and it was a bad word. So the other students were trying to clean it off the board. My oughtness came into play. I'm embarrassed what I did. I actually went and got the marker and retraced it. Because in my mind, whoever did it should get in trouble for doing it, and my classmates were cleaning it up. Does that make sense? I mean, it doesn't make sense, but in my mind, my oughtness meter is so high, somebody needs to get in trouble for this. Guess who ended up getting in trouble for it? Me.
Oh, the irony.
Right? So anyway, that's it.
That's funny.
That's what I do. It's really sad.
That's funny. And in the same way that again, the weird thing about these values is that they push Scott, they push me deeply into how we live, how we function, how we operate, how we think, how we make decisions, so on and so forth. But in the same token that we're trying to be driven towards godliness, we make mistakes. And so when you are very passionate about these things, you're gonna trip up. You're gonna make a mistake. And so we also need to be willing to show ourselves grace when we do mess up. I'm not saying we need to push sin under the rug, by no means. I'm just saying that if this is the thing that's super, super passionate about your life, the more that you focus on it, sometimes, I don't know how to put it. Like when you focus on things more often, sometimes the more bad is highlighted, but also a lot of good is highlighted too in the course of your life. And so be willing to it's going to confront your sin. Just what we talked about earlier. It's going to confront your sin, but also it's going to, again, hopefully allow you opening up this lane of the kingdom impact through the grace of God. So, so here's what we want to do. Would love just for a minute or two to unpack at your table this question. And so, how can you see creating values help with celebration, help with clarity, and clearing up confusion in your life? How can you see values help with celebration, clarity, and clearing up confusion in your life? Take a couple minutes and discuss that, and then we're going to hop into a quick practice time on your own. Go for it now.
Are those your words? Those are really good. Those are really good.
All right, another 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, we are bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back.
So, interesting. I wish. I mean, Tony and I were doing this with this question while you were too, and it was fascinating because we even had some situations, even at work today. We worked together, and where we were able to go, oh my goodness, that just brought clarity to this whole thing. Like, for example, Tony spent a whole lot of time talking today about self-care in our staff meeting. And it was interesting to see because then there would be some people who were asking questions, and then there were some like, not arguments, but like, are you really sure? Whatever. And it was interesting to watch Tony, and I could see some things happening on his face. I forgot this is one of his main values. So even as a staff today, it would have been helpful if we had laid out, hey, listen, this is one of my values. Not that you can't disagree with me, not that you can't sharpen it, but you just got to realize, if I start feeling weird or look at you weird, it's because this is a deeply rooted thing for me. The only thing I want to say was, before we move on, is this is a very fun exercise to do for yourself, but no matter what stage in life, I mean, businesses have to do this. So that's another thing I'd encourage you. I gave you some of the values. Pick your favorite company, and tonight before you go to bed, Google it. Honestly, core values Nike, and I guarantee you'll get the core values of Nike. Whatever company you like, Abercrombie and Fitch, right? I'm just saying, whatever it is, they all have core values. Now, whether they live by them or not, I don't know. And so some of you lead companies, you probably have values, or you need to create them like we need to do for Gateway Church. Some of you lead departments. It would be interesting to see. So think about how hard this is to do by yourself. Now try to do it for a company or a sector at your business. It's going to take even more time and more energy. And that's why executives go on retreats. That's why they bring in other people to help them figure that out. It's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. And so here's what we're going to do. For the next couple of minutes, we're going to give you a whopping 6 minutes, and we're going to let you practice enter into step 1. And so we're going to give you space just to think around step 1, just to start this process. And yeah, Renee.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you believe that your core values can change dependent, I'm not talking from today to tomorrow. I'm just saying, as far as core values through life experiences,
Yeah.
trauma, death in families, things change.
Yeah.
So would you say that this is an exercise that perhaps you do once a year or after something like that? I just know for myself, my values have greatly changed. Even as your relationship with the Lord grows, your values may change.
Yeah. I would say yes, to a degree. So when I nerd out over like DISC and Myers-Briggs personality types. Over the years, yes, your personality does shift a little bit through trauma, through crazy, amazing experiences, to the job that you have, and it does shift over time, little bits of it here and there. And so, yeah, I think that actually, well, as a matter of fact, probably about a year ago, I looked at my values again, and I did change a word. And I made them about 6 years ago. 6-7 years ago. And so, yeah, I think that the answer is yes. I think over time, that, again, now, in some sense, if you're changing 4 words every year, then maybe, I don't know. But yes, if you look at it 3 years later and a word changes, and it makes sense of why it's changing, I think so. What do you think?
I wonder if life experience doesn't change your values, it reveals your values.
Ooh.
So I think they can change, but I'm wondering if other things in life happened and all of a sudden it actually became a pain point or a pinch point that actually revealed a value that you had that you didn't know you had. It's a hypothesis that I have.
Yeah.
But I do think that they can change and evolve a little bit. But you also are saying this, I'm the guy that likes to take people through an exercise of tell me all the things you ever wanted to be in your life. Right? So if it's a guy, it's like, well, I want to be a fireman at first, and then I wanted to be this, and then I want to be that and this. And then I say, all right, I guarantee you'll be able to find a thread that goes through all of those. And they're like, and almost always people can find a thread. So because I think you find a thread, because that's how important I think values are, I think there would be a thread even if they do change a little bit. my hypothesis.
And potentially even it could just be a word that has revealed itself that just absorbs one of your words.
Yeah.
Because it articulates it better. Okay, so Renee has stolen 2 minutes of your time. Thanks, Renee.
That was good though, because I think yeah.
No, this is great. So now you have 4 minutes, and because we want to honor the time. So you have 4 minutes. Go ahead, start sifting through those words. Pull up your phone, Google search values. 4 minutes begins now.
I'm trying to think of an example, and I just couldn't find one of like a decision that a company made, but they did it that way because it was a value. You know what I mean? Like Chick-fil-A would be one of them. There's something they value about Sunday, so therefore they don't. You know, I know I just couldn't find one. Or like I looked at Starbucks. I didn't like Starbucks, but anyway.
Give you about 20 more seconds or so. All righty. So So as we begin to wrap up here, again, a little bit of a tease, right, where you're giving you the chance for just 4 minutes there to think through some of the values, to get the juices going. But as we land the plane for tonight, and we are going to get out of here in just a couple of minutes, I would love just to ask a public question together. And for the good of our group, if there was something, man, that would be, what we call just a key takeaway. As you think about tonight, as a group thought exercise, is there anyone that would be able to say, like, hey, like, this was a key takeaway for me tonight. This is something that really is gonna make me think as I go. This convicted me? This makes me, I'm a little confused about it, therefore I'm gonna go ponder on it more. Any type of key takeaway that comes to mind. Love to hear it. Yeah, that's good. Because they're going to start, right? Like, it's you don't know, therefore I want to know, so I'm going to start. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's really good. And here's the shadow side of value sometimes. I think that's where the evil one can sometimes use them to get us, because we value something, and it's like the shadow side, and then yeah,
it's good. What else? Anyone got something? It's good. Yep, it's good.
Those of you that God has blessed with children, maybe even think about, you're not projecting these on them. I'll bet you can identify some of their values. Right? It'd be a fun exercise. It might help you think about your own values too. Again, that's where bringing a trusted friend in is super helpful, because sometimes they can see some of these kind of things. Not. Phil, were you going to say something? Or Mary, were you? No, you weren't. Okay, I'm sorry.
I did?
They're not from a singular place. Oh, you're talking about that list right there? I don't know. Where'd you get that
Oh,
list?
yeah, great question. I received it as a PDF from someone, and I don't know who that someone is. That's it. So, yeah. And someone came up to me.
Don't the rest of us value not opening PDFs from people that we don't know?
Yeah,
That's a value of
I'm
mine,
too
but-
trusting, bro. Like, I leave my laptop on my college campus for hours on end at a cafe and just walk away for hours. Like, that was how
He
trusting
left
I
it in
was.
the bathroom tonight.
Oh, yeah, I literally left.
So
He comes in and tells me that someone left their laptop in the bathroom. It was me. So there you go. That was a great,
Yeah.
awesome.
On these here, this page here these don't have a heading.
yeah, it's weird. Like, some of them are in alphabetical order. Some of them are in.
Yeah. I can say that there might be something that doesn't make sense because I didn't make it. Literally, again, someone gave this to me. I was like, oh, this is a really good list. But by the way, someone came up to me and said, hey, I can't click the link. I'm like, you're a tool. Because again, it was a PDF. I didn't actually, so you can go and type this into a Google search and you will find it, by the way. So if you were curious, if you wanted to read any of these things, you will type them into Google and you'll be able to find them. So, any other takeaways?
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure it out. Because there's also been things in my life, I believe so strongly in values and how they direct everything I do, and yet there's been times in my life I've done things, specifically the oughtness. How did I do that? I don't mess up in sin. Other people say, I don't know how it happened. No, I have such a strong oughtness meter that I don't know. So there's got to be some other value at play for me that caused me to trump, maybe that's the prioritizing thing, that trumped my oughtness meter. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, I think a potential piece behind it is when you look back at step 3 for consult trusted people, is that when this is all done, I think you take this as far as you want. You can give your finalized values to someone and say, hey, hold me to this. Yeah. If you don't see me living to it, call me out, slap me on the wrist, because again, we're so bent, as we talked about earlier, we're so bent to our reactiveness rather than our proactiveness. This is my attempt to be proactive. I need your help in that. Because otherwise, left to myself, I'm going to be reactive in my sin, in my flesh. So having some very trusted advisors and accountability in your life helps, hopefully, can help stay on track. Is one thought.
And we did ruin you because now the why question it's going to mess you up. And tomorrow, when you ask a why question, you are asking a values question. Mm-hmm. Like, why did my boss do that this way? Why did the company do it that way? You are asking a values question. So maybe even I'll say to yourself, no, instead of asking why, what value was behind that decision that was made?
Yep.
It'll just mess you up. That's all.
And and asking why all the time, just like your sweet wife when you were gone, asked me why did I do a certain thing from the stage, and they hounded me for 30 seconds about that. It was great. What do you end up doing when you ask why questions to people in a tactful way? What are you doing? You're stirring the pot, and I love stirring the pot personally. I don't like to always stir the pot, but I accidentally do it. So sometimes I actually like doing it, and so you can be pot stirrers like me, and so you're welcome. All right, hey, let's finish this out. One last verse at the very bottom there, just to kind of conclude our time, which is this: 1 Corinthians 6:20, that says, "For you were bought with a price. Therefore, honor God in your body, in your intellect, in your passions, in your values." Guys, we have to come back to the fact that we were bought with a price. We are not our own. We were stuck in our sin, and it's upon the grace and the faithfulness of Jesus that we are anything. And so we want to take these fractured values, and we just want to place them at the altar of Jesus Christ and say, use them. I want to be used for your purposes, and I want my body to honor you. Yeah. That's why we're coming up with values. That's the irony of this whole thing, right? Like we said, this is not about you. You're spending hours to figure out you, but it's really not about you. It's about Jesus. And so, guys, thanks for diving into this together. We're honored that you would choose to take time out of your Tuesday evening to be here. I can say this. Well, we're here for you. If all 4 of you bum rush our emails tomorrow asking for time together, it might be a little more difficult to get time with every single one of you, but we're here for you. And so if you need to think through things, if you need a verbal processor, if you need someone to get eyes on your values, shoot it our way. Like, we'd love to process it out with you and spend time with you over this. And so, just know that this 2 hours isn't just like, hey, this is it. Good luck, goodbye. See how you can fly on your own. It is a little bit of that, but we are here to help because it's a raw, it's a weird, it's a heady process, and so you're not alone. And please know that. Also wanted to put this on your calendar for the next Develop seminar that we're going to be doing, just so you're aware. If you're like, I want to keep being a part of these. Let's see if I get on my calendar. Here we are, May 31. So May 31, Tuesday night, 7 to 9, same time, same place, right here. We're going to go over our next Develop seminar together. Again, if you were like, I want to go back and listen to the other 2 that we've done, they're on our Gateway Student Ministries, GSM YouTube channel, and so that's where they're being housed right now. And so if you want to go back and listen to any of this, it will be archived on our YouTube channel where you can go and see that as well. And so Guys, thanks. You're loved and you're valued. Thanks for being here tonight. Scott, any final thoughts from your end?
No, I'm putting the next seminar on my calendar.
Yes. I feel it. I feel it. Let me pray. Father, we thank you for this space. We thank you for this time. We thank you that your presence is here. God, we want to see more of you. We want to understand. We want to grapple with your glory, and we want to grapple with our purpose and the why of why we're here and what we're doing in the confusing mess that is life at times or all the time. We want to be faithful stewards. We want to be so faithful. So God, would you grant us the intentionality to be faithful with the few and the which of what we have, whether it be our talents, whether it be our monies, whether it be our personality, whether it be our values. We want to lay them at your feet and say, have your will, have your way. God, we love you. Thank you for being gracious to us when we mess up. Thank you for being patient with us when we're selfish. Thank you for being kind when we are the opposite of kind. And we don't deserve what you give us every single day. And may your grace absorb our minds to the point that we just pour it out to the lives of the people around us. We love you, God. Thanks for loving us first. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, gang, thanks for being here. Please grab more. If you want breakfast tomorrow morning, there's some, or lunch or a midnight snack, or take some to go, take some coffee. We love you guys. See ya.